Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. I'm Nick Park, and I'm taking us through a series of messages this week on the book of Revelation, and particularly the messages of Jesus to 7 particular churches in Asia Minor that we read in Revelation chapter 2 and Revelation chapter 3. And yesterday we were looking at the message to the church in Ephesus. And then in verse 8 of Revelation chapter 2, it says, "To the angel of the church in Smyrna." And remember, we said yesterday, the word angel simply means the messenger. So rather than this being an angelic being, it's quite likely that the angel was the main teaching pastor or elder of the church in Smyrna. And it says, "These are the words of him who is the first and the last, who died and came to life again. I know your afflictions and your poverty, yet you are rich. I know about the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are a synagogue of Satan. Do not be afraid of what you're about to suffer. I tell you, the devil will put some of you in prison to test you, and you will suffer persecution for 10 days. Be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you life as your victor's crown." Now, yesterday I shared that each of these messages to the churches, they follow a set pattern, that Jesus reveals himself in a certain way, then he says some good things about the church, and then he deals with some issues and problems that had to be corrected in the church, plus, minus, plus. And then he finishes on a plus. He finishes with a promise of how the church could overcome. Now, actually, the church in Smyrna here, they're the only one where there isn't a rebuke contained in the message to them. Not because they were perfect, but because they were in a position of extreme persecution. And the persecuted church, it's not a time to be correcting people and rebuking people whenever they're hanging on by their fingernails, facing persecution. But this was a church that was... Outwardly, it was a church that was in poverty. And it's no wonder that Jesus describes himself as the one who himself tasted death. These are the words of him who is the first and last, who died and came to life again. He said, he was saying to them, you know what, you're suffering. Some of you even been killed for your faith. Well, I know exactly what that is all about, because I died on the cross for you, because I was persecuted as well. And he said that they were actually rich, even though they appeared to be poor. They had very few resources, yet spiritually they were rich. And they were being slandered, and they were actually being slandered by Jews. Obviously, Jesus himself was a Jew. This is not anti-Semitism to say this, but persecution against the early church, some of it came from the Roman Empire, but some also came from the Jews and the Jewish authorities. And that's where this persecution against the church in Smyrna came from. And Smyrna, even that name, it has within it myrrh, which was, of course, a perfume that was, you squeezed the perfume and refined it. And this church was being refined even in their persecution. But he said you will suffer persecution for 10 days. And many Bible scholars believe that's referring to the fact that in the early church there were 10 Roman emperors, one after another, that really persecuted the church. But after that, God brought a measure of security for the church. Because even when we suffer persecution, and even when we're going through the toughest of times, God sets a limit to that. God will not allow it to go further than he has willed and he has allowed. So he says, be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you life as your victor's crown. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches. The one who is victorious will not be hurt at all by the second death. If you're going through a tough time right now, if you're suffering, if you're even having people that are maligning you and gossiping about you and trying to pull you down, I want the Lord to just speak a word of encouragement to you today, that you will not be hurt at the second death, because you're heading for all eternity in a place of victory in Jesus' name. God bless you today, and join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland.